Hi, thanks for considering participating in the eVoweluate survey. I'm Joseph Fruwald. I'm the one running the survey out of the University of Edinburgh. What you'll do in the survey is measure 180 vowels. Now, that might sound like a lot, but I've tried to write the prot script that runs the experiment to take as much of the pain out of it as possible and maybe make it go a bit faster than it would usually. So, what's the point? Well, there are two. First is to try to figure out how much agreement there is between experts measuring the same vowels. So maybe some vowels are intrinsically easier or more difficult to measure. So I'll try to figure that out. The second is to try to quantify the quality of the vowel measurements automatically produced by the fave suite. And the best way to do that is to compare it to the measurements of a bunch of different experts. I'll talk about those goals a bit more at the end, but for now, let's just skip to how the experiment's actually going to run. You'll want to start by navigating to the eVoweluate website, which is located here. Scroll down and download the eVoweluate experiment. It's going to be a zip file at this link. It should decompress into a directory called eVoweluate-1.1. And here's the eVoweluate directory. Reading the README could be really useful, but for now, let's just skip to launching prot. Once you're in prot, you'll want to open the eVoweluate experiment prot script. Once you've opened the prot script, then you just want to run it. This window will print a bunch of information. This is everything you need to know about informed consent. Please read it. The gist of it is your anonymity is guaranteed, and I have information in here about what kind of information I'm going to be collecting. Once you've read the consent form, click Begin Experiment to begin the experiment.
The powdered milk.
The first example will automatically play, and this instructions window will open telling you which vowel to measure in which word. And in this window, you can also adjust all of the format settings that you'd want to. So maybe you want to change the max format for some reason. Or maybe you want to change the number of formats to 4.5, or anything really. You can change that all in there. Once you've changed all the format settings that you want to, just measure the vowel it's asking you to. Now, I'm not going to do that because this is actually the first example from the experiment. So I'm just going to click over here and click Measure. If you want to stop doing the experiment, stop participating, just take a break, all you need to do is quit prot. That'll do it. I've also put in this nice break button so that if you click it, a nice little message will display. Then the next day, later that day, or whenever, if you go back and rerun the experiment, you'll be presented with the consent information again, and just click Begin Experiment. You'll pick up exactly where you left off. If you ever want to know where you are in the progress of the experiment, that's displayed right up here in the title of this window. So this is number 2 of 180 vowels. If you're ever not sure what exactly these symbols refer to, which vowel they refer to, that's documented in the README document. If you ever feel like you maybe messed up on a measurement, that's simple to fix. You just pause the experiment, go into the results directory, and delete the file, the one that you think that you messed up on. Then you just rerun the experiment.
The powdered milk.
And you'll be re-presented with the measurement that you think you messed up on. I'm just going to step through the next few measurements, not actually measuring the vowel that it's asking you to, because I don't want to bias you while you're actually taking the experiment.
4th of July. 没有人看他们。
So this is a shortened version of the survey. Once you do all the measurements, you'll be presented with the option to take an additional survey to provide some extra information. You can opt in to do this. It asks where you did your training. This is to see whether there's any house styles in the field. So I went to UPenn. And you can fill out these 1 to 5 scales on what's your expertise in doing vowel analysis, how familiar you are with the fave suite, how difficult or easy it was for you to do the experiment, and how confident you are in your measurements. You can fill out any comments here, or include them in the email that you send to me when you email your results. Once finishing that survey, you're also asked if you'd like to be acknowledged by name. So I have this in here because I'm asking a considerable amount of your time and expertise, and if you want to be thanked by name for that, I'll do that. Even if you fill this in, this will never be associated with the data that you produce. This is just going to be included in the list of thanks and acknowledgments in presentations and papers. Once you've finished everything, just compress this results file into a zip and include it as an email attachment to evaluate@gmail.com. So if you're still kind of interested, but maybe a little bit on the fence about how long it's going to take, I'd say there's no cost to just downloading it and checking it out. And in fact, there's no analytics installed on the web page or on the download link. I have no idea who's actually downloaded it and started it. So let's come back to what the point of all this is. I said first to see what the rate of agreement is between experts measuring the same vowels. And the reason there might not be agreement between two experts is because when it comes to measuring vowels, it's maybe more accurate to say you're doing formant estimation. There are a lot of researcher degrees of freedom when you're measuring a vowel. You as the researcher get to choose where in the vowel you measure, at what time point. And then there's all these LPC parameter settings upon which the ultimate F1 and F2 values you get out can be really dependent. So when you're measuring a vowel, the measurements you might produce for one given vowel token might be a bit different from the ones I would produce. How different are they going to be? There's no way to know unless we get a lot of different experts to measure the same vowels. The second goal of the eVoweluate survey is to try to quantify the quality of the vowel measurements automatically produced by the FAVE suite. Now, like I just said, the vowel measurements you might produce might not be the same as the ones I produce. So to what can we compare the measurements coming out of the FAVE suite to? And the answer there is obviously the collective measurements of many different experts. Now, to the extent the FAVE measurements look similar to the consensus of experts, then it's been a success. To the extent it doesn't, then maybe we should make some adjustments to it. I should say an important feature of FAVE is not that it's automatic or that it produces a lot of measurements. Those are very nice. But importantly, it sets the rules to the formant estimation game and forces everybody to play by the same rules, so that we know the formant measurements you produce using FAVE are going to be exactly the same as the formant measurements I produce using FAVE. So one of the goals of this survey is to figure out, are the rules we've set up in FAVE the kind of rules that we all want to play by, or do we need to adjust it a little bit so that we'll all be happy with the measurements FAVE is producing? So again, thanks for considering participating in the eVoweluate survey. I've included the link to the survey in the description, and feel free to contact me if you have any questions whatsoever. I'm very Googleable. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah.